Hello and welcome back to Idle Kingdom Defense. Today is a special edition and we're going to update the much anticipated hero ranking. Now if you're wondering, this is my alt account, but that's fine. Let's get started. And again, we're going to start with if your stage is less than 2500. So let's get into our collection here. So if you are basically just starting out in the game and your stage is less than 2500, the heroes you're going to want to focus on are Luke, Tristan, and Xavier. Now I will say you probably need to focus Xavier on a lesser extent, and the same with Adrian, because both of those kind of become obsolete. You will basically end up replacing them with Marion. Marion is one of the new heroes over here. I don't have her yet. I actually have none of her shards because the game does not like me. But that's kind of where you'll end up there. Evan also will be critical in your team. And especially since he's an A-tier hero, it'll be very easy to get him not only to Legendary, but to Mythic. Additionally, if you do get an S-rank hero up here, feel free to experiment, you know? That's really, in the early game, you have the most freedom of experimentation. Because you could get Camila, you could get Vincent, you could get the Viking chick. Viking chick is probably one of the best warriors now because she has the dual effects. Same thing, I mean, that's the same reason why Marion is one of the best heroes now. So just because, it's like, oh, well, I got to use Luke and Tristan and Evan and Xavier and Ryan, that I can't use the other ones. That's not true at all. You can still use them. It's just that in the early game, it's a lot more fluid, a lot more experimental. The thing is, what you wouldn't want to do is, for example, get Brian and promote him a bunch. You wouldn't want to get Jackson and promote him a bunch. But if you get Jackson early, go ahead and use him. Use him until he isn't any good anymore. Same thing with Blake and Raven and any of the S-tier heroes. You don't have to follow the meta. The only one I don't think works too well with the low levels is Lucas. I mean, he'll be good when you first pull him, but I would say don't try and promote Lucas. That's kind of I don't know why I promoted him to 5-star, but yeah, that was kind of a sunk cost. So just be kind of mindful of that. So again, if you're starting out in the game below stage 2500, you want to focus on Luke. You want to focus on Tristan. Xavier is a big plus, but Xavier will get obsolete later. Evan, very good. I still use him. I have him Mythic 5-star right now. And then again, then let's talk about warriors. Warriors are a little bit easier. Diego, Leonidas, Randolph, Ryan, and Anthony should be the 5 warriors you kind of pick up. Again, you can use other warriors. Again, this is the part of the game where if you pull like Roderick and you're just starting out, put Roderick in. Roderick's going to be awesome. But again, you're going to want to shift over time towards these heroes. And the issue is going to be, you're going to get so many A shards, B shards, and C shards compared to S tier shards. You're not going to be able to keep the S tier heroes up. There are exceptions to that, of course. Gabriel. If you focus on keeping your archer gear promoted, Gabriel will be great. That's really not something you're going to do before wave, before stage like 4000. But if you get him, try him out. See if he does better, Additionally, Christian will always be awesome, even if you can't keep him promoted. I really, obviously, you can see I was able to use Harold. And again, Daniel's good too, but again, Daniel isn't a long-term warrior. He doesn't have crowd control, but using him in the beginning of the game, it's very acceptable to use any of these heroes at the beginning of the game, and you have a lot more room to experiment. But if you're concerned about, I don't want to waste my Ascension Stones, then here you go. Luke, Tristan, Evan. Maybe some Xavier. And of course on the Warriors it'll be, Diego, Randolph, Leonidas, and Ryan. Now let's say you get past the 2500 stages and you move on to 5000. At this point, originally I would say Xavier needs to be upgraded to about 1-star legendary. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I would recommend that anymore. It's He's still a good hero. He might be necessary. I would probably say try to get him to 1-star legendary, because really, who else are you gonna put in? That's kind of gonna be kind of the thing. There's not really someone who can replace Xavier down here. I mean, there's Carlos and there's Logan, but so you'll probably be using Xavier and getting him up to at least 1-star legendary. Now, if you can actually get him up to Mythic, you can do that too, but I would suggest stopping at 1-star Mythic. That's when he can get 2 sets of cavalry on the field. But I doubt you're going to get that at less than 5,000, because really, if you're getting anybody to Mythic, it needs to be Luke. 1-star Mythic Luke goes from 200% to 300%. So if you can imagine the difference there, the 1-star Luke is just light years better than basically any other hero on here, because he's going to add so much damage to your team. So really, I would really say you were going to focus on Luke and Tristan and Evan, and you can kind of see that's where I've been trending with my group. And then again, you'll fill in with Christian is always good. I would say Gabriel is always good, especially when you get into the 4,000s, because once you get close to the 4,000, you will start getting your S rank Frost gear, and you'll start promoting it. So you'll start promoting that, and the more if you neglect your archer gear, Gabriel sucks. If you get your S tier gear, you get it with a frost element, you get all the pieces to match, and you upgrade them as you go. And the order should be for your gear: S tier frost arrow, S tier frost bow, S tier frost arrow, S tier frost boots, S tier frost helmet, S tier frost chest piece, and then finally S tier frost gloves. And that's because your arrow and your bow, your bow, then your arrow will give you, the bow gives you the element, and the bow and the arrow both give you the most attack. Now the arrow actually gives you more than the bow, but I would get the bow first so you get the element. Then I would swing down to the boots. The boots give you more crit damage. So that is probably the number one upgrade to help the archers do more damage, is crit damage. Second, I would then pivot, okay, and get the helmet, because the helmet gives you defense penetration. Finally, I would switch to the chest piece after getting those 4 pieces, the chest piece, because that gives you accuracy. I've never had an issue, especially in the early part of the game, with accuracy. That would only be really if you pushed way beyond, I think, what the game would throw at you. And then finally, gloves. And the reason I say gloves last is because Diego has this buff, this huge crit buff. You're going to get so much crit buffed from Diego that getting the crit on your gloves is just really not going to be that important. You should basically be, once you get Gabriel, you should be critting all the time. So again, that kind of covers the less than 5,000. Now where it's going to get more interesting is the less than 7,000. At this point, you're for sure looking at Mythic. You're no longer looking at having Luke, Tristan, and Evan maxed at 5-star legendary. You're probably looking at getting them to Mythic, reasonably at this point. You'll have a lot more S tier heroes unlocked too, but again, you're going to want to focus on Christian, Gabriel, Sophia. I would say I don't know when Sophia comes into play. When I played originally, Sophia came into play about 8,000, but she did make things easier if I got her active sooner, especially with King's Ruins. With the Mythic upgrade, like if you get Mythic Luke, and you get the extra crowd control from Mythic Evan, and you get all these extra things, right? And Mythic, don't forget Mythic Tristan either, because he gives you the extra attack speed. Is Sophia necessary at those lower levels? I don't know. I don't know if she would dramatically change things. You might need her for King's Ruin. I think I started using her around the 7,000s in King's Ruin. But again, with all this extra power you're going to have in 6,000, do you need Sophia for King's Ruin? Unfortunately, I don't know. And a lot of it's going to depend on the other heroes you have too. Like if you have a really strong Marion, you might not need Sophia for a while. So that's going to depend on your playstyle. And remember, Sophia is only as good as how high her levels are. If you put an epic Sophia in who's very low leveled, she will suck. She will be terrible. You'll wonder what makes this character good. You need to level Sophia up to an appropriate amount, and I would say it needs to be at least 3,000 before Sophia becomes good. Additionally, all your runes should be focused on Sophia. The reason being is because her stats are so low, runes benefit Sophia the most. Just keep that in mind. That generally would become relevant, I would say, from stage 6,000 or higher. When I was originally playing this game, stage 6,000 was really where things changed. Also, around stage 6,000, if you get a really highly promoted Evan, and all your warriors, you have Thor, you have Ryan, you have Leonidas, you have Randolph, you have Diego, and you're having lots of stunning and slowing, I actually had to make my farm team, I think it was around stage 7,000. The reason I had to make my farm team around that stage is because all the crowd control, sometimes crowd controls things off the screen and reduces how quick I can clear a level, and then if it reduced how quick I could clear a level, and reduced how quickly I could start the next level, and it would really reduce my farming. And farming is still very important because you need to make sure you're getting, that roughly the however many, how many is it? The 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, depending where you are in the game, hero seals a day so you can do more summons. Really, that's where you want to farm those hero seals. Hero seals get you more heroes, and etc. So when I made my secondary team at this time, I replaced Harold. I replaced it with Adrian because, again, having golems and the cavalry on the field that doesn't stop anything. That doesn't crowd control. I replaced, who else did I replace? I put Camila in for Evan, so I don't think I have her. No, that's Vincent. Camila, right here. I replaced Evan with her, and I replaced Sophia, because this time I was using Sophia, if you're not, with Aisha. But really, you can use any hero that doesn't do crowd control. And for the warriors, I chose Vincent, and again, I don't have him unlocked, Roderick, Raven, and Brian, and Daniel. And I chose those heroes because, again, they buff each other, not that that matters, but I like Daniel because he makes him run around real quick. But I chose these heroes because they debuff, and especially that's why I put 2 poison in, because any little extra bit of damage helps. I don't think poison is really that critical or that great of an element, but again, if you're farming, having them poison things, Raven and Vincent poison things is great. Everything counts at that point. Because really, you're looking at reducing the cycle time, and you're not focused on what I need to do to push. Now, once you get to greater than 7,500, this is where you really should probably start getting Mythic. I don't know how much Mythic you'll have at greater than this, but this is where you'll be looking at, is my Marion high enough to replace Adrian, if you're using Adrian or Xavier? Is the Viking chick high enough to look at replacing Diego? And those things can be kind of experiments. You saw me take the Viking chick, and we went and did the crowd control free portal just because I wanted to test her out for fun. So, but those are the kind of changes you'd be looking at. Again, if you don't have a good Marion, or you don't have a good Viking chick, you'd still be using the same loadout: Thor, Ryan, Leonidas, Randolph, and Diego. Some people do swap in Roderick for Diego. It depends on if the fire debuff is better than the stun. It's going to vary a little bit depending on where you are. But again, I would say if you get a good Viking chick, completely replaces both Diego, because she has a knock-up. It's not quite as good, but the biggest thing is she attacks in 2 directions. So you'll probably want to experiment with her. I don't know how she works from a farming team perspective. I don't know, because this is such a short duration. It might not be a big deal. I don't know. You'd have to experiment with that. Again, if she does knock things up off the screen that people can't attack, you're going to want to put her out, because you, again, want that cycle time to be as quick as possible. You don't want your heroes waiting to attack something. I think that covers about everybody here. Now, the thing is, with above 7,500, you really should be looking at having a Mythic Luke, a Mythic Tristan, Mythic Evan, and Mythic Ryan, Mythic Leonidas, Mythic Randolph, Mythic Diego. Like, this is where you should be mythicking things up. And I would say go with DPS first. So Luke, Tristan, then Evan, and, Xavier or Adrian or Marion, that's going to depend on, you're going to have to experiment and see what works for you. Of course, Gabriel and Christian should be very strong members of the team by then. Sophia would be on the team by then. And who am I missing? Yeah, no, that's it. Because you have 1, 2, 3. It's only 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. And possibly either Xavier, Adrian, or Marion. So that'll be kind of your 8s. And again, your warriors are not going to change. Then once you get to 10,000, you'll basically, once you solidify this kind of team, you'll probably be using it up until 10,000. Again, the only changes you're going to make at that point are basically swapping in Marion for Adrian. If you had a really low Adrian, I'm stuck with a really low Marion, so I'm trying to build her up to replace Adrian. And same thing with the Viking chick. Of course, I have a Mythic 5 Diego, so bringing in the Viking chick is going to be tough. So that kind of covers the hero ranking. And again, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And beyond 12,500, really not much to say. Really, you really should focus on your hero DPS. Really, throughout all of it. It generally goes, your hero DPS is good up until about 5,000. Then if you do your archer gear correctly, your archers will actually overtake your heroes from about 4,000 onward, because of between your archers and Gabriel's buff. Then and that's gonna actually persist, and I don't know how long that'll persist now, because you're not going to promote anything beyond plus 12. But I think there's going to be another inflection point, because the mythic archer gear isn't nearly as good. So I imagine there's going to be an inflection point where the archers aren't nearly as good as your heroes, and then your heroes are going to overtake the archers somewhere in Mythic land. So I would say, let me think, probably in the 8,000s, 9,000s, especially if you don't have an extra skill to your arrow. The more plus to your arrow you have, the longer it's going to take for the heroes to really kind of overcome the archers. So once again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. If you have any questions, please say something in the comments. I always do look forward to your questions. Now, I will have a written version of this in the description to kind of help explain things, because I think some people, it's a little easier to see things written sometimes than spoken, and vice versa. And sometimes I was trying to read from the script, but sometimes I do vary a little bit. But again, I do always look forward to your comments. Again, I don't really expect things to really change. Like, the too long didn't want to watch this video is that what Mythic Heroes really does, it extends the lifespan, and maybe I should have said this first, of A-tier heroes over the S-tier heroes again. Because now there's a whole other tier where A-tier heroes are more viable. Because you're going to get the difference in shards between A-tier and S-tier is so dramatic. It's so incredible how big the difference is that I can't even describe it. Because, again, Luke gets super buffed. Everybody gets so buffed. But, I mean, the amount of shards you get at A-tier, you get, like, quadruple or quintuple the amount of shards versus S-tier. At S-tier, you're getting, I would say 20% of the shards that you get at A-tier. So your A-tier heroes will have a much longer lifespan with the Mythic upgrade. That's the biggest thing. So once again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. If you have any questions, please say something in the comments. I do always look forward to your questions. And thank you again. I hope you have a good day.